Rob is come down here and he's going to give us a presentation. I wasn't all prepared for this, but
Space stuff.
It's on space stuff. That's exactly what it's about.
Testing. All right, I'm here. Okay. Well, good evening and happy you could all make it here. My name is Rob Best, KC9LGS, said before. Let's see if I get my introductory slide. Am I coming okay? Need more booster? Is that here or is that you? Thank you. Crank her up. Keep going. Tell me it's good. You sure? Complain if it's not. Okay. So I got to kind of pull these slides out of sequence for a second, so bear with me. Okay, there's me. Okay, so you probably have heard me before, space hobbies, right? And VSATs or not VSATs, picosats, I think of VSATs, and other things that can fly with ham radio. And I started a company 25 years ago, and it's in southeast Wisconsin, and I'm not going up there right now, I'll tell you that now. Something about 50 below, 50 mile an hour winds or something. But yeah, so we make fiber test equipment. We're a real small company, but I know our customers love us, or we wouldn't be around still. So that's my proof. What I want to say tonight is kind of a mixed meeting. I think the main message is how to get people recruited into ham radio. And I think that everyone doesn't have to feel that they have to be a recruiter. You know, we're here for two purposes, friendship and fun, right? I mean, that should be if you're coming for some other reason, I don't know what that'd be. But, so you don't want to be guilty that you have to do this stuff. But if the bug gets caught in you, and some people, my proteges have, I think, starting to exceed my abilities quite a bit, and they've got the bug, you know. Brian Wilkins, he's not here, but he definitely has the bug, right? So he's about pickle balloons. I see him on all the blogs all the time, and he's getting a lot smarter than me, which is scary. Okay, I'm going to jump to a different slide set now. Should take me a second. Okay, what I've noticed, and you know, I say this and I get myself in a lot of trouble, is that every aspect of ham radio that I've seen has got its great goodness to it. But not all of it, and this is where people don't get offended, draws new people in, especially younger people. Now, I'm not just younger people. I saw that in the write-up. You know, age is a relative thing. My business partner, 61 years old, and he just signed up to get his master's degree, then his PhD. They got him teaching at a university now. And he just started teaching the first time in his life when he's 62. So I think people, have you ever heard of Dr. Strang, MIT? Anybody hear him? Raise their hand if they heard. Yeah, he's famous in linear algebra. I mean, he's got every kind of award you can think of, and he just retired at 93 or 92, I believe. You know, and he was having fun. You can't, if you're not having fun, why are you doing it, right? Got to find a way to make it fun. So what I want to do is try to find a way to prove what has the most magnetism to draw people in. And I'll tell you, space, I keep thinking of Captain Kirk, right? It's Final Frontier. People have this, oh, it's about space. And I think they even get overboard. Oh, it's NASA. Like, you know, if NASA told you how to grow peas in your garden, they would be right and everybody else would be wrong, right? So, matter of fact, I think a lot of people here have had some roots in the aerospace industry. And don't be shy, because I need the statistics here to figure out what we're doing. Raise your hand if you've had some kind of work with aerospace, Northrop Grumman, Lockheed Martin, you know, the usuals, NASA. Look at that. Look around. Look at yourself. You're definitely a Space Coast mixed here, right? And, you know, it just seems natural that a ham club would take on the idea of getting people promoted by space. And I think what I'm going to do is what my dad did for a living. Actually, my dad was pretty famous in Milwaukee. He used to work for Freddie Stratton. Or not Freddie Stratton. He was friends with Freddie Stratton. Freddie Miller. You ever hear of Freddie Miller? His jet went down in the drink when my dad first started working there. Learjet. Miller Brewing Company. And Philip Morris eventually bought out Miller, and they put their own people in. And my dad went with a consulting firm. Started with 18 people. And he boosted it up, and it kept growing after he got in there. He was the main driver there. And it got up, I think it's over 500 to 1,000 people right now in Wisconsin. Consulting firm. And Freddie Stratton, Jack Welch, you remember him? Anybody know Jack Welch? The book cooker, is that what they call him? That was my dad's golfing buddy. So he's been around. But one of the tools he always had was attitude surveys. And I remember someone said, well, they only survey the worker. No, my dad would work about getting the boss, and he'd work with them and see what their problem was too. And if there was a strike at Master Lock, the 6 o'clock news was Dad was sitting there negotiating between the union and the management. Now his attitude surveys, which I helped, and my business partner actually helped with kids out of college, we helped write software for it. This is just, I grabbed any image off the web, okay? But I'm thinking of starting my own survey and asking people, because here's one of the things I've done, and I don't know if you've run into this situation. I like going to the beach with a arrow antenna. Anybody heard of an arrow antenna? It's made of arrows, right? It's purple, and it's got a bicycle handle. It's a Yagi, and you can listen to satellites as they come over, and it's got a dual purpose, it's pushing people's dogs away. I love that. When people come up and they say, what are you doing? And these are 30, 40-year-old stockbrokers and stuff, and lawyers, and people that should know. What do you do? Ham radio. Ham what? Amateur radio? Amateur what? They've never heard of it. A CB on steroids? I try to get it what it is. And that scares me when the percent of population they want to know, because you're sitting there with this weird thing on the beach looking at the sky. So I'm flabbergasted that they don't know that. Are people running into that? Ham radio? This can't happen. I think that ham radio, how do you say it? Underrated. I mean, you have their Arduinos and the digital kids, right, and the 3D printers, but you need the analog. You know what I'm saying? The helical antennas, the plasma transmitter, any of that high-tech stuff that you can do with even tubes. I still have a place. So I really like to see ham radio survive. China, and I wouldn't have thought this, but people are insisting that China is just blooming in ham radio. I know when our balloons fly over, we don't get a signal from them. I think the Chinese government doesn't like little signals transmitting up and down, they're paranoid of it. But they do. I mean, the Bofang and the, what's the other one, Zygu, right? And these other things. I don't trust them, by the way. I think they're going to put booby-trap chips in our stuff. I mean, that's not beyond reason. But they're accelerating. I don't like that. I don't like countries that are accelerating and we're not. We got to rejuvenate or do something to put new birth in it. And I'm thinking that if you say ham radio, that doesn't mean anything to people. They don't know what that is. If you say, hey, you want to get involved with satellites, you can actually get your hands on space much more than you ever realized. And that seems to move them. Matter of fact, I was at Crystal Buffet 2 weeks ago, and I think I came to show Jeff Stewart. He was working on a display on this little satellite. Baylor, right? You can hold it up and show him the little satellite right next to you. Just the one that's got the two antennas on it. Yeah. I just was walking out with that, and a guy accosted me on the way out. He's about 25 years old. He said, I heard you're using Raspberry Pi in there. Is that a satellite? Will that fly? I might step in to say yes. I mean, anything will fly, right? They shoot it out. Yeah, it's a simulator of a real satellite. It's actual size, actual functionality. And I suppose we did a titanium metal thing and a couple more vibration and all those other hoops. We could actually get one that could fly. I'm not against that someday. But it's difficult because there's hurdles. But, you look at that and you want to know about it. I've had other things where I've come by and I said, can I use your place as a speaking venue? Some lady was doing yoga in there in the meantime. And they had a venue like this, and she took the brochure and she went, ooh, because space hobbies. See, there's that thing. And if you want to get them into contesting and all the other good things that ham radio provides, you got to get them in the door first. And to me, it's not just use, it is teachers, people that can be future Elmers, families. I think that I've seen many cases, but I'll give you an example. You all know Steve Wozniak, right? Chubby, happy guy. He was a ham radio, so was his dad. I think he worked for, it was one of the satellite companies. I can't remember the name of it, but it was a big one in Silicon Valley back in the day. And, they were hams, and they were playing in the garage. Dad and son playing in the garage. And I guess it could be, we could say mom and daughter, but that can happen. It's just rare. It's usually dad and son in the garage, in the shed, or something, playing with. Matter of fact, in Intel, got started with Gordon Moore, and there's Robert Noyce and Jay Last, and they broke away from Fairchild, I believe. It was called the Rebellious Seven. And a lot of them were hams. They started in the cornfields of Iowa, I mean, it gets boring there, right? When you're in the middle of nowhere, and all of a sudden Uncle Charlie has a crystal radio in the barn, and you can hardly hear the dang thing, so now you want a tube amplifier. And they just evolved from that. They became very good engineers. And the thing about ham radio and engineering is what I've noticed is that there's two types of people. And you could be anywhere in between. But the two polarities are, one guy's just a hacker, and he can't do a straight calculus equation, right? The attention deficit, he's hacking around. Then there's the other guy, my next door neighbor up in Michigan. He's the head of electrical engineering department. They've actually given a new building, a different STEM medical thing, but it's still equivalent. He's a fellow in the IEEE, and you're not going to believe this, he hates electronics. Have you ever run into people like that? Not, you really have, yeah. That was I ran into a guy at a trade show that was nuts too. His dad was in Silicon Valley, and I said, you must have had a great childhood. No. And I said, well, you must like play electronics. No. He was designing our competitive equipment. So anyhow, it's the element of getting people motivated is very important. That's why we got the word attitude survey. And I would like to sit there and say, what would motivate you to come to a ham meeting? You know, we could say ridiculous things like free cash, right? I'm going to think these questions out very careful, have them vetted. And the one thing I want to do with a survey is not try to make the survey draw the conclusion I already want it to draw, right? You want them unbiased and pure. So I'm going to definitely say, you know, would a satellite, I don't know how to say this yet, but I'll compile it to something simple and straightforward. Will a satellite technology, getting your hands on that type of stuff, the only way you're getting to space is they either launch you up or you have a good helical or a Yagi or something pointing up at the sky, right? So they can get you into space. And people don't realize that. I mean, yes, the schools are getting more aware all the time. Now, what we found is a great recruiting tool to get people into ham radio, and I think it is the most powerful, but not the ultimate, and that's the pico balloon. Now, everybody, I've promoted it quite a bit. Anybody not hear of pico balloons? Because I don't want to do redundant slides on them. Raise your hand if you haven't. Okay, one. So everybody's heard of pico balloons, and they understand them. Okay, so we got two people. We'll give them a little debriefing on what it is. I'm going to go to those slides. But anyhow, I'm going to create a survey. If I have to pay people to answer the survey, I will. I used to do that as a kid. They had a van outside of Kmart. Remember Kmart's? They'd accost you in there and they could pay you some money. I don't know what a 12-year-old's opinion would have mattered to them, but anyhow. I'm just going to briefly go over pico balloons. Pico balloons are basically a $3, thanks to Brian Wilkins, who isn't here, a $3 balloon now. I got 3 of them overnight from Amazon, $9 for 3 of them, and they work pretty darn good. It seems to shift over time. Remember, it was Yokohama, and they had to buy those, and they were $12 a piece plus $12 shipping, with tax everything up to $30 for the balloon, and that starts to matter. But you have these little party balloons, you know, and with the party balloon, they would get to a certain altitude. You know, you're familiar with the NOAA, National Weather Service balloons. They're the latex balloons, and they will float up to 100,000, 110,000, and then just for pure expansion, they burst. And that's fine for 8 hours. Then you get to do a fox hunt when it comes down on a parachute. There you'll never see it again, but it's fun, and I can get that. Plus you get a camera. They get the curvature of the Earth. They're up in the blue black of space at that altitude. But the party balloon, somebody figured it out that you can fill it just right. So when it expands, before it pops, it'll get up to an altitude of 40 to 50,000 feet. And what that does, it stays in the jet stream or stays up there high, hopefully above thunderstorms. I think you were just killed by one, right? Probably. South America is a bad place, yeah. But barring that, some of these guys claim on the web they've been up for 2 years. I don't know exactly what they're doing. I'm still, relative to the community, I'm a beginner. I've been at it about 2 years. I think we got about 70, 80 flights. I lost count. But they're small, cheap party balloons. They're 1 meter in diameter. Let's see if this is... Okay, there you go. I don't know if you can see those pictures. Anyone having a hard time way back there? Okay, good. So you fill them up, and you don't fill them like that, or they blow up. You see, they're going to expand as they rise in altitude. And if you expand too much, you're going to be just like the latex weather balloons. They go up for 8 hours, and then kapow. You want this thing to sit there and travel around the Earth. Now, the new guys are probably wondering, how are you getting plotting it, because it'll plot on Google Earth, Google Maps. And you'll be able to see where your balloon is within a small grid, depending on certain situations. But anyhow, so you're flying around real high up. Let me maybe get some live action here to show you one of them. Uh-oh. Phil, I think we lost your internet. Let's give you that. Looks like we're not connected to the internet.
We don't have internet.
Well, we did a while ago. Well, I got Phil's right here. I think, maybe, where are you, Phil? There you are. I think it went to sleep. It's a good thing I tried it early. I don't know. It doesn't seem to, I click it out here. Now it doesn't recognize any hotspots. Wi-Fi.
It's still up.
Okay, there's an HPV,
Should
HVP.
just say iPhone.
Oh, there's VFW. They got one. Oh, there, it
Right
just
there.
came on. It just came on.
I woke it up.
Yeah, it must have a sleep in it. Yeah. Let's go back here. So anyhow, you go to these small party balloons and fill them with a little bit of gas. People don't understand that because they see this wrinkly thing that we're letting go. But it's not really wrinkly when it gets up to altitude. It's a nice, beautiful thing, but we're never up there to see it. So when I started out, I didn't realize how difficult it was. We had a lucky streak, and we had like 5 flights that were perfect, for beginners. First one got around 7 or 8 times around the Earth. And we didn't know what we're doing. We didn't know what we're doing. And we ran to PCARS, and we got, Dennis involved, and I don't know if you were there then. You probably missed it. Phil was involved. We had 4 or 5 guys. And almost nothing worked right. Call signs fell away. We had to do cold temperature tests. It took probably about 20 flights, and each time we're trying to go to a different aspect, follow what the experts were saying, look at the different scenarios, and now the flights are going pretty darn good. I think the turning point was Lisa. What was her W1?
KC9LGS.
KC9LGS, and she was lasted quite a few weeks. We've had others up here. Had one go in a tree. I think that was looking for his name here. Robert Lucan. Are you here?
No, he's not here tonight.
Okay, he went into a tree. Then we gave him a new flight app. See, if you can see the tiny font there, it says new launch, because that first one didn't go very good. We'll show you what a launch looks like so you can kind of get an idea what we're talking about. Now, how we get our signal back is an interesting thing. You'll see the payload coming up. It's a magnet wire in between that and the payload, and it's got 2 17-foot segments with the payload with solar panels in the middle. You can't put batteries on them because it'll weigh down. I think there's some people that do, but I don't know. I don't know their way of doing it. So without batteries, it's purely solar, and when the sun goes down, you lose your signal. But the network that it's beaming down to at 20 meters is 17, it goes 17 milliwatts of power or less. And it's going, I've got in Perth, Australia over the central United States. And what happens is there's these people called the Whisper Network. Now the 2 newbies, have you not heard of the Whisper Weak Signal Radio Propagation Network? Their whole goal was originally to send weak signals out and see where the propagation paths were. And there's thousands of these guys, or hundreds of them at least, around the globe, and they report your incoming signal, energy level, to the web, to an internet server, and then to Google Earth, or Google Maps, whatever. I can see the little thing still flying up there. So, with that, it can be pretty much almost anywhere in the globe. The poles are kind of iffy, aren't they? But it can be anywhere in the globe. It can get solar power. It'll broadcast its coordinates through a little GPS chip. And that whole thing, I've got one here. Baylor, that's right, Baylor's your name, right? Yeah, can you pass that around, that little GPS module? That's a transmitter. Yeah, pass it. Is it there? Yeah. Those cost us a whopping $11 to make. And that's China. It's going to double, right? Those cost us $22 to make. Guesstimating the tariff if they don't work that out. 17 milliwatts and all the way to Perth, Australia. I don't know. You probably know more about propagation than I do, but you're way up there. You're 40,000 feet with a dipole or a half, what do you call it, a quarter wave antenna?
No, half wave.
Half wave, okay, thank you.
Quarter wave above and below.
Yeah, so it's really got signal propagation up there, and it's amazing. I just can't get over the weak signal that it is. so you get these flights, and let me do some actual flights for you so you can see them. The National Weather Service actually wants to prefer these now in Arctic research as opposed to the regular latex balloons, because they want to get the polar vortex up there. It's going around in a circle or whatever. Every once in a while it comes down to visit, and we get snow in Florida. But they want to study that, and they don't want it to go up to 110,000, explode, and then come back down. So they wanted to hover, for a couple months if they can, and that's all research data. You could probably put a couple of transducers on there. My system's not the best one for transducers. I think Torpedo has got all kinds of temperature and vibration. I don't know, all the junk they got in there was impressive. So let's see if we can. So anyhow, that's how they're getting the signal back, a worldwide network. I don't think any of the guys that started that network mind us hijacking their network with our floating balloons coming over. I think they enjoy it themselves. It's probably a little more interesting just watching propagation lines go around the globe. Yeah?
What frequency range is it in?
That one's 20 meters. So it's 140965.
095 roughly.
My proteges are smarter than me, so
Now
that's
we
why
just remember better.
just getting older. Okay. Let me get you some more slide material.
There are whisper receivers on every band, just about every band, but 20 meters seems to be a sweet spot because you don't always get receivers near where you are. You don't with VHF, and so sometimes you get a direct line of sight, but other times, you're in Japan, you get a pickup in Hawaii, and so you're obviously skipping over it with 17 milliwatts into half-wave, but it's a full half-wave dipole, vertical half-wave dipole at 40,000 feet.
Okay, thank you. He's my co-speaker today. So anyhow, no, I need that help. So what we do is there's a process of stretching the balloon when you get it from China, and you put air into it from an aquarium pump. It's like a $3, $10, whatever Walmart pump. And you go to a certain limit. You monitor the pressure gauge. You want to get it across to full expansion there. If you go too far, you hear a big boom while you're watching TV, and you know that it's time to refill another balloon. But then you deflate them. That's a 24-hour process right there just to prepare a balloon. So that's a step there. And sealing the balloon is another little bit of a thing, and then soldering on the solar panels. And the particular system I have is very rough to program the firmware or the CMOS inside of there. This is the program that does it. So you got to do it sometimes 3 times to make sure it took it. It's free. I mean, what can I say? And I'm sure a lot of you have seen all this before. You got to weigh out the gas. So you use these little weights. These are the things you have in a stationary where you clip papers together. I don't know what they're called. Spring steel binder clips, yeah. And it gets weighed out. So he's weighing them right there. You'll fill gas to equal the weight, so it ends up being just slightly positive, usually about 5 grams of net lift. And then the thing is launching. Launching's a real treachery thing. You have any kind of wind, it'll find trees, because when the wind will keep it at a low altitude is what we found out. And 10, 15 miles an hour. I'm always very paranoid about it because I've seen horrible things happen. But it'll go a half mile, find a tree. It just won't get altitude. When there's no wind, you get up there and you feel a great sense of relief. But the thing about this is that you have long-term engagement. If you tell a kid, we got a balloon for you, or even a growing-up kid, and this thing's going to travel for hopefully weeks or months, and you put your call sign on it, and it's got a long-term, McGaffey wants me to fix something. I'm not going to bother with that. So when you have something like that that's only $20 to launch, and it's floating around for months, and you watch it on your phone or your tablet, and you see where you're going, it has long-term of engagement. So it's quick in the door. I mean, I've offered people in the club, I got to make an apology for those that haven't flown yet. Probably want to kill me out in the parking lot. What happened is we had done many flights, and we did some people redundantly because we wanted to make sure the system was down and working right. But I think I've still got about 8 to 10 people left on my list. You're one, right? Just got to look for Angry Lux, and I'll find the other guys. So your flights are still coming. It's been months and years of waiting. But some people want double flights and things. That makes it a little complicated. Okay, so the next thing is that once you get people interested in these pickle balloons, which is fairly easy to do. Well, Garth, you're a new beginner, right? And did it grab you like a fishing hook, kind of? Yeah, it gives you long engagement. That's the thing.
I mean, I don't know how many, I've lost count how many times it's gone around.
I'd say about 9, Garth.
When did you launch, Bart?
It was around Thanksgiving time.
Yeah.
Nine might be long. 7?
Yeah, the jet stream is interesting. I mean, I could go cover so much topics, and I don't know how close I am on my 40 minutes here.
Yeah, oh, that's right, you were the fast.
Yeah, the thing in the winter, there's something called a winter jet stream, and you can get up to 300 miles an hour, you know, and then you can get caught in the doldrum. There's little loops in the jet stream called cutoff lows, and you can sit there for 2-3 days and not even move. And then you can get in Antarctica, or Arctica, the Arctic Circle or Antarctica poles, and you don't get enough sunlight at certain times of year, so you get lost there, and all of a sudden somebody pops out again. We have a problem with the solar panels do degrade after a while. I'm pretty sure they are, and we're going to try polycrystalline. We've been using power film because it's light. It's actually more expensive, but it may be burning out. It gets kind of a suntan up there. So that's a picture with the panels on right there. And where is everyone passing that little unit around so you can see how little it is? It's smaller than a matchbook. Okay, but once you get people into pickle balloons and they're interested and they're converging on it, then the next step is to suggest working with the satellites. That's very interesting. People don't realize that they can do a lot of stuff. You know, people in here have ICOM 9700s, right? And how many people do satellite work right now or have done it? Raise your hand. Not that many yet. So you can probably get in with a homemade egg beater antenna. Gotta have a good amplifier though. That's a single slide. Okay. Now there's a guy that's making satellites. Let's see if I can get to that here. This I'll go over quick. This you've seen this last year. These are I modified this a little bit. The one thing I like is the number of schools that are out there. I think schools love to do satellite stuff. You know, science teachers got their boring curriculum. They can do picosats, and then you get them into satellites. There's 27,000 high schools in the United States, almost 6,000 colleges, and 50 million plus students. And they get a new batch every year, right? There's a problem with that, and I've discussed it. And I wish I would have made some more slides about it. And India can launch them now. I've heard as low as $5,000 for a 1U CubeSat. About that big, weighing about 1 kilogram, 10 centimeters square, and $5,000. When I made this slide, they're offering 10 to 15,000. There's a problem though. See what's going to happen? Has anybody been thinking about the problem? And I said the cure, and I had a good laugh last time. I doubt I'll get a good laugh this time. But big problem. There's more away teachers and students that want hands-on space than can fit. You know, I think did I get rid of that big thing? I had the planetary eater. You know, there are actually companies developing things that go out and retrieve the satellites with claws like that. Another one shot harpoons into it. And I saw it on YouTube. Look up companies that are trying to get rid of space junk. They feel that nations are going to pay them to mosey around and get rid of some of that junk. So now this guy, I think this is the best solution you're going to have for most people. And if you're really serious in a school about getting real satellite up, I mean, you don't want to tell people they can't do it because there's people that do it. The last conference I was at, the guy did, he lives in Miami, and I think he's on his 10th satellite that he's put up with a club down there. So if you know how to get through the system and work NASA or some other launch vehicles and you got some kind of funding, you know, the India thing's very cheap, but that's something not everyone can afford. Now, a lot of this is based on Raspberry Pi. NASA has a book on how to use Raspberry Pis in space. They even have hardened ones. There's something called the Raspberry Pi Foundation, and they've got space hardened equipment, SD RAMs and stuff like that that are space radiation hardened. AMSAT is really one that has this simulated satellites. They have software, very good software. It doesn't look that great, but I mean they're getting eye closure and spectrum on there. That's the inside of AMSAT's CubeSat that they made. They want $400 for that. I can pass that one around too if you want, Baylor. It's now the thing. Yeah, pass that around to go ahead to. Maybe you should start with that up there and then go. $400 a piece. What they do with those is they Velcroed on the solar panels. And that bothered me a lot. It kept bothering me until I finally made my own model. You want to bring that one up here, the little one? Yeah, I'll show them the. She probably should have got a. What do you call it? Headset. No. Yeah, Garth just. That's it. Garth's got it. Nope. Yeah.
Why did the Velcro bother you?
I just don't like the way it feels. No, it's because it doesn't seem very realistic. It takes the magic away. I mean, people want to see inside, and that's what I did. So now you can see inside right away. Without, it started with two-sided sticky tape, then he upgraded to Velcro. And hopefully, I've showed them how to do this. I've given them a sample. This will probably be on GitHub so you can make your own. I would charge, and I'm not in production yet because I have to have more of a manual written. Whoop, microphone. I realize that. Okay, so I would charge about $259, but I think this will be on a GitHub. You can make it yourself. A lot of people don't have time to make it themselves, and they want someone that, assembles it. Some people find the fun in assembling these things. So I can pass this one around too. No, that doesn't hang on a balloon. But yes, there are people that hang those on balloons. The MSAT one has gone up. It's got balloon mode in the firmware. But that's going to be a latex balloon, and it's not going to have a very long flight. Plus, you don't know when it's going to come down. The kind of material you can get for STEM and technology is they had pressure, which I can tell you at space is supposed to be 0, right? Negligible. Temperature, humidity, that's going to be 0 too. The temperature is going to be very variable. Slow scan TV, this thing will send out slow scan. The camera's on the bottom if you want to see where it does that. If you look on the bottom, you'll see a slow scan camera. That's more of the Fox to Limb software. So we thought we'd help them along by maturing it by making the hinges that you can open up. We relayed out the circuit board, did several improvements so it's easier to manufacture. And then we did a big one, and the big one's got a lot. Now if you're not familiar with CubeSats, each cube is called a U. So if you stack up 5 cubes, you got a 5U, and there's 10 centimeters squared. You typically weigh a kilogram is pretty much the desired weight. And each cube, we're putting a different science payload in there. We've got a muon detector, which uses 2 muon detectors actually, and it's got the coincidence detector, Geiger-Muller tube for radiation particles. And then we've got a spectrum, I don't call it a spectroscope. You can actually look at the sun and tell you the different curves and peaks, hydrogen, what's that called? I'm looking at Chuck because he knows. The little hydrogen alpha, is that it? Alpha bump and things like that. So, and we got some other junk in there too. Oh, we have attitude determination control. That's just chock full of STEM. That means we've got an ion thruster, and I'm trying to get to the point where you hang them from the ceiling. We can control it so it'll actually turn the satellite left and right. We have what do you call it? Magnetotorquer, thank you, and a reaction wheel, and those will all turn the satellite hanging from the ceiling. Now I saw a guy that did all this, and he actually has enough money to put a real satellite up, so if you're curious about that, I brought a video to show you what he's done. There's the insides right there, stem board in the top. That's the standard AMSAT payload on the very top one. It's got the EPS, electrical power system, that converts the solar and stores it in batteries. Muon detector, spectrometer, Geiger counter, oh yeah, star tracker. It's open source, and it looks at the stars, and it can identify where it is, and it'll send we're trying to get it so it can write a KML file and then report where it is. So you put it in the backyard at night or something, or you can put a fake pattern stars in front of it, and you can try to figure it out. Reaction wheel, ion thrusters, those are all very cool technology, I think, very good. Yes?
How does it look at the stars?
A little Raspberry Pi camera, and it has what they call space heritage. That means it's actually flown and worked. And that was the University of, let's say Argentina. They've actually got the web page on that, and it's out on GitHub, so it's not real impossible for to do. It's all in Linux, which is a little annoying. So anyhow, I'm going to show you a guy. There's our Geiger tube. We actually made this one ourselves, the whole sensor. There's the spectrum analysis. I think that's, this is an open source project, Thermino. Again, you can use a cheap camera with this. They got these typical dips that different elements of the sun cause. That's a crew tracker. There, this is it. I'm sorry, here's the, I was hoping to tell the university there. I suppose I can click it, and I might be able to go to it. That's just using a Raspberry Pi, by the way, to do all that. I know it seems amazing. Let's see if, I'm just trying to find the university. I got it on my website, so you can look out there for it. And this is the ion thruster. We brought that in last year and did a demo. Did everybody remember that? Sparks away. Portland State, or SAT, Oregon State, I mean, Portland, Oregon. They have a club and a couple of universities got together. And this is out on Onshape. It's very sophisticated. I was surprised that they did a professional satellite level. A new communication protocol is coming out. I shouldn't say new, but it's relatively new. It's called LoRa. Anybody heard of LoRa? Playing with LoRa? Oh, wow. Okay. So it uses chirp spectrum technology. At 900 megahertz, it's unlicensed. And that troubles me. Sure, that gets people in real easy, but we want it to become hams, right? So you don't want to push the 900 megahertz unlicensed chirped spectrum technology. You know, you can give it to them later, but you know, hams could do so much more with satellites, deeper into space, more ambitious project. I could go on and on about that. So I'm worried about that. And then the other thing is this little movie I'm going to show you. They're using Elon Musk's Starlink to talk to the satellite. And this guy's a phenomena. Has anybody heard of Mark Rober? Raise your hand if you've heard of him. Raise your hand if you know he's crazy, right? He's the squirrel man. Okay, maybe you haven't heard of it, but you remember if you bumped into him on YouTube, he's the guy that if you got a porch pirate, everybody hate porch pirates stealing your stuff. He makes bombs that are non-lethal.
Glitter bomb.
Yeah, and fart bombs and other various things. And he started that on YouTube, and then he did the squirrels. I like the squirrels. He makes all these different things with Arduino that the squirrels have to go through in order to survive. You know how many subscriptions he has on YouTube? Take a guess. 64 million. I don't get into the Hollywood crowd, so don't judge me on this. There's some guy named Jimmy Kimmel, and when he was absent, this guy's gained so much notoriety that he runs the show. And that's something to ponder. I'm going to give you a quick, hopefully a quick video. How much time do I have left?
About 5 minutes, maybe.
Okay, I'll have to give you the bridge version if I can find where my computer is. I'll try the files thing here. I lost my SanDisk here. I think it's this one. Yeah, I tried to build my own satellite. And he went and did a real one. I mean, he worked for NASA at one time. He's like a more modern version of Bill Nye.
Brand new, custom-built satellite called SatGus, and in about a month, she'll be zooming by way up in space at 5 miles per second.
Okay, I probably run out of time. I can see you fidgeting in the corner of my eyes. So anyhow, hello. Yeah, I'm jealous. I have a pet squirrel in my backyard up in Michigan. It's a black squirrel, and he comes when I call him. I call Blackie, and he comes running up there. So this guy's got a whole army. Do you recognize this guy a little more now? You know, so anyhow, I wish I could go on with these videos, but we have a life to go to. Anyhow, thank you very much. Don't forget to clap. And thank you for listening to my long, drawn-out lecture.
Thanks for that, Rob. And Mac?
I have one question, and I'm totally ignorant of this stuff, so I'll ask it. Whatever happened to launching these balloons, where they were banning the balloons and all that type of stuff, these particular ones like this, they had a ban, they were going to ban the balloons.
Oh. Yeah, that's a complicated issue. I launched mine from Michigan mostly. So, but my business partner is a professor up at Michigan Tech University, and we actually have an official program. And under the advice of Steve, I'm going to get a letter on letterhead saying that we're an official government. It says if you look at the print, as long as you're a government agency, it doesn't say what state. And I've looked it up. Universities that are public are government agencies, believe it or not. So we'll have license to fly balloons and bypass that law. The law didn't have a bad intent. New Jersey and that, they had balloon days where they let 1 million balloons go. And they came down after a while, they came down the ocean, they were trying to rescue people that were at sea. They couldn't find them amongst all the balloons, floating in the water. And they also, well, the turtles eat them, but that's another problem. The things landed on the freeway. You know, did you ever see these great balloon releases on YouTube or television? They do like 1 million of them, and weddings would do thousands of them. So they finally drew a line and made it just. They cracked down more and more because I think people were finding loopholes. That's my assumption, that they were getting the loopholes. If you did it on your own and you didn't have an organization to do it under their wing, your fine would be maximum $250. It is not a criminal offense, says it right in the doctrine. It's not a criminal offense, but you risk that. And I don't know many. I'm friends with a lot of cops. I don't know any that would ever do that unless you're being a smartass or something. You know, launching a scientific balloon, very noble. It's not like a big party thing. So anyhow, that's my statement on it.
All right, anybody else got any questions for Rob before we head off to break? Going once, going twice. What you got there, Mr. John?
On the larger one, it sounded like you were just talking about a couple of minutes ago. How do they get those up in space?
Larger, here.
No, that one is the large cube.
Oh, yeah, well, they go as,
The 12 view.
yeah, they got space program, SpaceX, and all these other guys have spaces where they have big spring-loaded boxes, and it's not the main mission payload, but they're well aware of the CubeSat industry, and they have all different sizes, and they'll shoot them right out of there. With a big spring, by the way. It's not that high-tech. There you go.
All right, anybody else? Going once, going twice? All right, I think it needs one more hand for all this good stuff here.
Thank you.